Hey, my name is Athena, and in this video I'm bringing you my November wrap-up. So, in this video I'm going to talk about the books that I read in November. I read quite a few books in November, though some of them have pictures and stuff. Let's just get into it. The first book I read in November is The Midnight Library by Haig. This is a relatively recent release and I absolutely love this. This is about Nora, and Nora wants to die and then she ends up in a kind of library of her life, and she can then think about what she would have done differently in her life, sort of thing. I don't want to give too much away, but also it's been over a month since I read this because I'm filming this some days into December because I really wanted to film next to our Christmas tree, but that wasn't up yet at the beginning of December. So I would have liked it to be up, but stuff happened. Anyway, so yeah, I don't remember a lot of this, but it was excellent. So it kind of also has like a time travel element when Nora gets to see what would have happened differently if certain decisions had been different, if that makes sense. And I always like stuff like that, like alternative timelines and things like that. And this was also really nicely written, I thought. I just loved this. This was one of my favorite books in November, so it was great to start off the month with this. The next book I read is Notes on a Nervous Planet by Haig. So after reading The Midnight Library, and I think I ended October with reading Reasons to Stay Alive by Haig, so then I ordered this and read this straight away. This is sort of kind of the successor to Reasons to Stay Alive, but not quite. I like that it has the same kind of smallish format, which makes it very comfortable to read for me. It's got short chapters. It talks a bit about like mental health problems in like the current times with you know, social media, news. You have very quick access to everything happening all over the world kind of thing. Again, it's like over a month since I read this, so I don't really recall much, but I liked it. And yeah, I'm not going to spend too long on each book because I read 31 books in November, so, and I don't want to make the video too long because I feel like then people don't watch all of it. So, which of course is your choice, but I do like it when people watch. Anyway, next up I read Komi Can't Communicate Volume 8 by Tomohito Oda. This is Volume 8 in the Komi Can't Communicate manga. I have talked about this manga before. So this manga is about a high school student who is socially anxious. Her name is Komi, and so she has trouble communicating because she doesn't speak to most people unless that she knows them really well. So in book 1 she kind of becomes friends with Tadano, who is normally a wallflower but who likes to help Komi get more friends. So yeah, this is Volume 8. I don't even remember really what happened in here, but I liked it just like the other volumes. So my memory isn't the greatest lately, so sorry about not remembering specifics. If you do want to know, I can flip open the book and see what I can find, but just want to put that out there. I've also been trying out a new medication the past while, and it's not really working much yet. I'm mainly having the side effects, which is not nice. So then next up, I read the first 5 volumes in Himouto Umaru-chan by Sankakuhead. These were birthday gifts from my boyfriend, my partner. I'll show you to the books. So this is book 1, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, and Volume 5. We recently rewatched the anime again, and so, well, I got these for my birthday and I read all 5 of them. And then I bought Volume 6 through 10, and the next few haven't been translated in English yet, or at least not published. So I'm waiting for that. I read Volumes 6 and 7 in December. I can spoil, but I didn't yet feel in the mood to read more of them, so that will just be next year. So this manga series is about Umaru and her brother Taihei. So Umaru is at school. She is like this really like good and polite and nice and beautiful high school student. And then when she is at home, she becomes this kind of lazy person. She likes to play video games and watch anime and basically be lazy and make her brother, here's her brother, I think they live together in an apartment. the brother has a job, so she is in high school and he is a few years older and works with like a kind of software, something in IT. And yeah, I really enjoyed reading this 5 volumes and seeing also the difference with the TV series. So yeah, I really like these. It's not for everyone. Some of the humor can become sometimes repetitive, but I really liked it. So the next book I read is Dylan Haegens Stripboek 2 by Dylan Haegens and Marit, Brugman, Vermeulen, a bunch of other people. Here are all of their names if you're interested. I watch their YouTube channel often. So this is comic book 2. Number 1 was released a while ago, and I think I read that in the beginning of a year, in January when it came out. I can't remember if that was like January 2019 or when that was. So this contains like comics to do with the people that they are in, but then kind of sort of fictitious sometimes, and well, it's got all sorts of things. I like the humor. It is targeted more towards like children and teens, so not every adult is going to enjoy this, but I am sometimes still a kid inside, so I liked it. Then I read Go to Sleep, I Miss You by Knisley, which is her newest book, and it features cartoons from her being a parent. Now, the previous book she wrote was about her being pregnant and that journey to getting there. And so this is some comics from, you know, her having a baby. Well, it's got various, and yeah, I like this. I didn't like it quite as much as like the books from Illuminae that I love the most, because these are more separate bits, because they're comics and it's not like one story, if that makes sense. I mean, it is the same baby, but they're like short little snippets, if that makes sense. Which makes sense because with a baby she couldn't like write as long a book, but so I mean, but I still liked it, and yeah, it was nice. And also it's an interesting contrast with the next book that I'm going to be talking about. It's Lucy and her baby in this book, and she loves the baby, but sometimes it's also difficult. But now we get to the next book I read, and that is Dear Scarlet by Teresa Wong. And this is a graphic memoir, and it has as a sort of subtitle, The Story of My Postpartum Depression. So I had both of these books on my TBR, and I thought it'd be nice to read them together just to kind of see that contrast. I mean, my brain works weird sometimes like this. Sometimes it connects books sort of thing. So I have had this Santa hat since I was a kid. So we've been through a lot, and it still fits me and has fit me all these years. Okay, so this is a graphic memoir, and well, like the subtitle says, it is about Teresa Wong, who after her pregnancy had a postpartum depression. And so this has mental health rep, but it's also of course a bit like darker, so it could be triggering if you're sensitive to specific things. The baby lives though, so that's not the thing, but the mother is struggling, let me put it that way. So here are some images from the beginning. And yeah, I like this. It was really nice to read. So she has a baby then, and after that she finds she isn't happy, she is depressed, and she is very tired and struggling to do everything. Anyway, it was just, I really liked it. I really like most books I read this month. It was quite a good reading month. Then I read Ghost in the Wind by A.J. Copperman. This is book in the Haunted Mystery Guesthouse series. So this is another book in the series. This is a cozy mystery series. In book 1, Alison has bought a big house that she is then going to do up, and that she is using as a guest house. So she invites people. It's not like a bed and breakfast because they don't get breakfast or dinner, so they just sleep there sort of thing. And there's also some entertainment, if that makes sense. Anyway, so this was the next book in the series, and I really liked seeing all the regular characters again. And this was also an interesting story. This is kind of a paranormal cozy mystery series because in the beginning of book 1, it turns out that the house that Alice bought has 2 ghosts living in it, and so one of the ghosts was the woman who owned the house previously. And I think this cover is quite old to me, so I thought that was quite nice reading it in like early November being autumn. Even though, I mean, in the story itself, it's not like lots of autumny things, autumny weather, but I think not that much else. But yeah, I like this. Again, I'm really liking this series. Then my next read was book 1 in the middle school series, The Worst Years of My Life by James Patterson and Chris Tebbetts, and illustrated by Laura Park. This was actually a reread for me. I read the first book from the library a few years ago in Dutch, and then since at the time they only had book 1 and not any others in the series, I decided to buy them myself, the ones that were out at the time. But before like reading the next ones, I wanted to reread the first one because it was a few years ago. And I always like to read my own copy as well. Like, it doesn't feel right for me to then read books 2 and on and then not read my own copy of book 1, if that makes sense. It's probably just me, but that's how I work. So this is about, well, here it says on the back, Rave. And so the school has lots of rules that are in like this rule book, and Rave kind of gets the idea to break all these rules. He gets points for, like, depending on how strict the rule was and how difficult it was. So he gets more points for more difficult things, if that makes sense. And yeah, this I thought was very funny. Yeah, it's quite fun. I look forward to see what the next books are going to be like based on the story in this. I'm not sure how it's going to continue exactly, but we shall see. You can also totally read this one on its own though. And yeah, I liked it a lot. Then I read Dog Diaries, book 1, Dog Diaries. This is by Stephen Butler and James Patterson, and illustrated by Richard Watson. This is book 1 in the Dog Diaries series. I think there's 4. At least I have 4 of them, and I was not able to find a 5th one anywhere, so... But I haven't read the others, so I don't know. So this is basically like the diary, but then of a dog. This dog is Rave's dog, so that's the character from the previous book. I'm not entirely sure when this book takes place in comparison to Middle School, The Worst Years of My Life, because in this book, I can't remember that like a dog who looks like this is really mentioned. So maybe it's later on in the series. This one was published much later, so... But either way, it was nice. It was kind of so like a diary of the dog and things seen from his perspective. It's got nice illustrations and it read pretty quickly, and I thought it was an interesting perspective to see that. I didn't love it as much as like the middle school, but it was not as funny to me, but rather some of the things were more repetitive, but I did really like it. And I also liked the way that the dog described various things that for us as humans we have words for, but the dog doesn't. So he's naming them based on like what he thinks their function is, sort of thing, which is sometimes funny because he doesn't, yeah, he's a dog, so yeah. Then I felt like reading something wintry because it's getting colder, so I picked Piste Alarm by Linda van Rijn. This is a Dutch thriller, Dutch lyric thriller it says, and so this author has written quite a few winter and summery ones, and so I wanted a winter one because I like to read those in the winter and the summery ones in the summer, and it's winter here right now in the Netherlands. So this is about 2 parents who are going skiing. So the parents and their kid, his name is Marius, they're going skiing in Austria, and then one day during his skiing lesson the little boy disappears. And so they spent the night at this, I'm not sure what to call it in English, but like they spent the night in this house with some other people. I guess it's like a guest house or a bed and breakfast, but anyway, yeah, they do get food, so it might be a bed and breakfast, but that term is not used in Dutch anyway. And so this case contains some similarities with a case from 20 years ago. So the police is going to investigate. You read the book from multiple perspectives, so not just from like the mother, but also from, for example, the people who run the guest house, the other guests, the police detective, and such. Now, I really enjoyed this. I read on Goodreads that some people found it a bit predictable, and I did guess some things as well, but I still really enjoyed it. And also, I wasn't sure of everything exactly, so it was nice for me. But if you're very good at guessing, I guess what thrillers, how it all works, if that makes sense, then I guess you'd prefer to read a more complicated thriller. But anyway, I like this, and I had nice wintry feels because there's mountains and lots of snow. and skiing lessons. And so, I mean, I've never been skiing, but it just gives a wintry feel. So yeah, I really liked it. The next book I read was Memento, which is a short story prequel to the Illuminae series by Kristoff and Amie Kaufman. And this is my Kindle, so I'm holding it up. And it was recently released, and I was very excited about it. Or at least it was recently available for me to buy on my Kindle. So I bought it and read it. So yeah, this was kind of a short prequel. You do need to have read the series in order to understand the prequel. Otherwise, I think it won't make much sense. But yeah, I liked it. I read the Illuminae trilogy a few years ago, kind of as the books came out in paperback. And so I liked reading this novella a lot, and then it really made me feel in the mood to reread the original trilogy. So that's what I did. Now, I did recently hear that Kristoff has said some things on Twitter, bad things. I haven't looked into it, but that was after I finished this whole trilogy. So I don't know if I'll be reading any other books, but we will see. Anyway, so then I read Illuminae. That's book 1 in the Illuminae files by the authors I just mentioned. This series takes place in space. So in book 1, so many years into the future, it's about a mining colony on a planet. So the mining is done illegally, and there's 2 big corporations that are fighting over it. So in book 1, Ezra and Katie, they live on this planet. They've just broken up actually, and then their planet gets invaded by the company that is not, it's like the rival of this, the one who does the mining sort of thing, if that makes sense. Yeah, and so they have to escape, and so it's in space, and yeah. Now, one of the cool things about this series is that everything is told through things like logs and instant messages and emails and documents and video footage in which somebody describes what you can see on the cameras, if that makes sense. So I thought that was really cool. I'll show you some examples. You might have seen it before on other channels. I'm not sure if you can see much of that because I can't. But it's got lots of, yeah, cool. I don't want to show you accidentally spoilers, so. And I loved rereading this. I have heard that the audiobooks for this series are also quite good. They have a full cast recording. Now, I don't use audiobooks, that I can't, but just wanted to point it out for anyone who's interested in this, and you think you like to listen to audiobooks sort of thing. So yeah, I love this. And it's interesting because the second time I read this trilogy is you see new things that you didn't pick up the first time around because you didn't know what was going to happen. But now you can see how this relates to something later on, that sort of thing. Anyway, so yeah, loved reading this. Then I finished Gemina, which is book 2 in the Illuminae Files trilogy by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. So this is book 2. I'm not going to give you synopsis, obviously. It is again written in like interesting ways, also diary pages, and I loved it. The next book I finished is Artemis Fowl, The Laatste Bewaker, Eoin Colfer. This book I buddy read together with Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe. This was the last book in the series, book 8. In English, this book is called Artemis Fowl and the Last Guardian. I have the Dutch ex-library copy. We both liked reading this book. It's not my favorite of the series. My favorite remains the one with the time paradox, Artemis Fowl and the Time Paradox. But this was still nice. I also liked that the Artemis's brothers played a role in this, which is kind of setting up the spin-off series. And yeah, I really liked buddy reading this book with Olivia, and yeah, it was a nice to finish off the series. Yeah, no spoilers. The stakes were definitely high in this book, I can say that, which seemed suitable, not quite the right word, but for the last book, if that makes sense. A spectacular last book or something, if that makes sense. I mean, yeah, so the stakes were high. Anyway, I really liked it. Next up, I finished When Life Gives You Mangoes by Corinne Getten. I buddy read this book together with Charlie. She doesn't make YouTube videos anymore, but she does have an Instagram under Pickler's Mom. She's Emily's sister, and she is one of my earliest booktube friends. So this is a middle grade. It takes place in Jamaica, and it is about Golden Clara. And she kind of feels like there's not much happening in the village. One day there's a new person starting to live there, a new kid. And so Clara tries to become her friend. Not that she really wants to, but her mum makes her, sort of thing. Anyway, that's not important. Yeah, I like this. Here's the back. I'm not sure exactly how much to tell. Well, again, it's a few weeks ago. And my memory has not been the best lately, and I definitely should have made more notes, but I didn't, so. But also I like my reading to be fun and not just be taking notes, because I'm not a professional book reviewer. Nor would I want to be. So I think I would just take all the fun out of reading if you have to analyze everything. But that's just me personally. I thought this was really nice. I also had not read a book before set in Jamaica, so that was also really nice to see that. So yeah, I really liked it. The next book I finished is Obsidio, book 3 in the Illuminae Files trilogy by, again, Amie, Kaufman, and Kristoff. And this is the third book, and when I first read this book, I read it quite a while after Illuminae and Gemina, where I had read those because I had to wait for the paperback release of this book. So at the time that I read this for the first time, my memory was a lot more hazy on what happened in the first 2 books. I actually, the first time that I read this, didn't like it as much as the first 2 books. But interestingly enough, so now that I've reread all 3 and quite close together in the same month, and so things make more sense now because I had everything clear in my mind. So yeah, I love this a lot more now than I did at the time. I mean, I still liked it at the time, but now I loved it, if that makes sense. And one of the things that I had an issue with the first time around, I didn't have as much an issue with this time, but it's spoilers. So yeah, I love this, and I was pleasantly surprised that I loved this trilogy even more than the first time, I guess. So now after that, so the Illuminae Files that's told in like diaries and text documents and all that. So then I thought, which other books do I have that do something like that that I haven't read yet? So I then decided to read, okay, so the Tapper Twins series by Jeff Rodkey. So the first one is the Tapper Twins go to war with each other. And so it's told mostly through interviews. Yeah, you can't really see it. There's also some pictures in there. And sometimes also text messages. Now, I had actually read books 1 and 2 of this series before at the library. And then I bought them for myself as well as books 3 and 4 when they came out. I'll show you those now. So book 2 is the Tapper Twins tear up New York. They're all new stories, by the way, but they do refer what happened in like the previous book. Then we have the Tapper Twins run for president, and book 4, the Tapper Twins go viral. I looked it up, and I think this is the end because there's no more books published after this, and this one came out in 2017. But yeah, I enjoyed reading these. So the Tapper Twins are Claudia Tepper and Reese Tepper. So this is Claudia, that's Reese. And sometimes they have some sibling rivalry, or they take this. So in book 1, they kind of play pranks on each other. And so, but each book has kind of its own story. So in book 2, they are doing this scavenger hunt. They live in New York and are doing this scavenger hunt with their class. In book 3, as it says, run for president, so they're trying to be, I think, the president of the student council or something like that, which we don't really have that in the Netherlands, at least not my school, so no spoilers. And the Tapper Twins go viral has to do with social media, so yeah, I mean, that speaks for itself, I guess. So yeah, I really liked all of these. So these 2 I've read before, and I really would like to read them again. And then these 2, books 3 and 4, were new to me, and I really like those as well. Now, admittedly, maybe reading them back to back to back makes them a bit more repetitive, depending on how much that bothers you, but the stories are all different. Some of the elements are a bit similar, and it's got a lot of the same characters. Each story, I mean. But yeah, anyway, I like that. So then I thought, what other books do I have? And then I thought about Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel, and the other two books in the Themis Files series. So I decided to read that as well. So this is also told through interviews. I don't know how well you can see that. And diary entries and stuff. So this is book 1. And I love this. Now I had heard good things about this trilogy, but not recently. Like a few years ago when the books were written. But I didn't pick it up yet at that time. I kind of wanted to wait until all 3 of them were out and also in paperback release. So I actually bought these books, I think the last time I was in this bookstore. Because now it's the pandemic. So I think I bought these in 2019, the last time I was in this specific bookshop. And I saw the 3 of them and I was like, well, let's buy them. This is science fiction, I would say. And in book 1, a young girl named Rose Franklin, she falls to the ground and discovers this big metal hand. And now as an adult, she's a doctor, Dr. Rose Franklin, and she is trying to find answers. As this hand is I don't want to spoil too much. So that maybe seemed like a very short synopsis. It's kind of difficult to explain in this book, I think, without spoiling lots, and well, I'm not the best person at giving descriptions, to be honest. But I love this, which was, yeah, I was surprised at that, because I had heard good things, but not like recently, and not at the time that I heard those things. Those were people that I watched back then, but they were not friends. They were just like bigger YouTubers, if that makes sense, bigger booktubers. And it turns out actually some of my booktube friends have also read this. So yeah, I really like this first book. The next book I finished is Fablehaven 4 Secrets of the Dragon Sanctuary by Brendan Mull. I buddy read this book with Linda from Linda's All the Books. We've been reading 1 book a month in the Fablehaven series. So in December, we are going to read Fablehaven 5. By the time you're watching this, we've probably started it. This is book 4 in the Fablehaven series. This is a middle grade fantasy series. It's about these 2 children, Seth and Kendra, and their grandparents have this like secret magical preserve, Fablehaven, where a lot of magical creatures are living, and they're the caretakers. Well, that's book 1, but like, yeah, this is book 4, because this is kind of, I think, a series that you should read in order. You can read book 1 like on its own, but yeah, I wouldn't start with book 4. Then it doesn't. I mean, they do repeat things a little bit, but I would recommend just to start with book 1. But yeah, anyway, this was another good read. Every now and again, there's an illustration. It reads pretty quickly. It's middle grade, and yeah, I don't want to spoil too much. But this book had quite some twists that I wasn't expecting. I liked it a lot, yeah. The next book I finished is Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel, book 2 in the Themis Files series. So this is book 2. Can't tell you what it's about exactly because spoilers, but I really loved this one as well. And it's again told in interesting, like with the interviews and diary entries and such. The interesting thing is though that the font in this book is a lot smaller than the font in the first book, and the font in the book 3 is like bigger again, like the font in the first book, which I prefer. But either way, it made this book feel like it took me longer because there's less pages because the font's small. Anyway, so they could fit more words on the page. Anyway, I love this. After I read 2 short stories. In this series, there are 4 short stories that the author has released for free on his website. I read the first 2 because, so the first story is a prequel to the first book. It's called File Number 002, and it's a prequel. You should definitely read the first book before you read that story, otherwise it won't make sense. And after that I read the story that goes in between books 1 and 2, and that is called File Number 247, because each chapter in the book has like a file number. So yeah, those were really nice free short stories, and I mean, they're free, so you can find them on the author's website, so I mean, why not read them if you love the series? I mean, I'm now going to move on to the last book of this month, And that is not book 3 in the Themis Files series, because I ran out of time to read that, so I actually finished it in December, as well as the last 2 short stories. So that's going to be my December wrap-up. But I realized that, like, I'm talking about the series now, and so, yeah. So, book 3 is Only Human, and then there's another 2 short stories, one between books 2 and book 3, and one that takes place after book 3. And I love this trilogy. The short stories a little bit less, of course, than the main books, but yeah, I liked some more than others. I loved all the novels. If you think it sounds like something you might enjoy, I would recommend it because I liked it, but yeah, I guess not everything's for everyone, but I liked it a lot. Yeah, I loved it. So we'll have to see if I still feel like talking about that stuff in my December wrap-up, but it seemed a bit weird to leave it out, but I didn't bring the physical book, So, the last book that I finished in November, on the last day of November, is Dash and Lily's Book of Theirs by Rachel Cohn and David Leviton. This was actually a reread for me. This is the first book in the Dash and Lily series. I have the sequel, which I bought a while after I've read this book, but then didn't read it because I couldn't remember this book well enough. And shortly before starting it now, I found out there was actually a third book, which people were not as enthusiastic about. So on Goodreads, it seemed the first book is most liked, and then the second book, and then the third book. And I started to reread this book because the Dash and Lily TV series came out on Netflix recently, at least in the Netherlands. So I wanted to watch that, and I thought I'd read the book as well. So I started the book, and after 2 chapters, I gave up. This was earlier in November, before the TV series was out, because I was not getting along with the writing style, and I wasn't enjoying it as much for some reason. Now, originally, when I read this in 2014, I rated it 4 stars, or 8 out of 10, but back then, I think I still used the star system. So this was never a favorite book of mine, and if anything, I think I've become a little bit more critical and more figuring out what kind of books I like, because I didn't like this as much on the second time reading, but we'll get into that now. So then I started watching the TV series, and then I thought, what if I watch like an episode of the TV series and then read the part in the book, if that makes sense? The TV series is not a literal adaptation in the sense that they've changed some things around. They've rewritten, some scenes are different, some aspects are different, some things are different in time. But actually, I personally like the TV series a lot. I really like the TV series, and I liked it better than the book. So I would actually, in fact, recommend the TV series because I loved that. I thought it was really good. So this book is about that Lily leaves her notebook in a bookshop, the Strand in New York, to try and find a nice boy. And she's written down some challenges, and so Dash finds a notebook, and then they write back and forth to each other in this notebook sort of thing, with challenges as well. That's what the book is about. It's set in New York around Christmas time. Okay, so now we get to on why I like the TV series more, and there's several reasons for that. So one reason is that in the TV series, Lily is Asian, her family is Asian, and I loved seeing that because this book, basically all white characters other than some brief mention of this black man or this brown man. The word white is not really used. It's like white is default. This book was published in 2012, 2011. So I loved seeing that in the TV series. There's also some other characters of color. For example, Boomer, who is Dash's best friend. In this book, he is in the TV show he's black, and in this book he is not. There's actually only one reference which makes it seem that he had to do something, but he wasn't black. It was a bit confusing. Anyway, I really liked that in the TV show he is black and that some of their friends are also characters of color. I also really liked in the TV series that, of course, you saw all the Christmassy things in New York, snow, Christmas trees, and that feels just so much more Christmassy than reading about it in a book. I wasn't too keen on the writing style, like I said. I really love the TV show. And also some dates got switched around, some more problematic elements, and mostly I thought the TV show was better. And I actually did struggle to finish this because I had finished the TV series, which, stupidly enough, I thought it was 10 episodes. So I was watching episode 8 and then it ended and I was like, wait, I thought there was supposed to be more. But there wasn't. That was just my bad for thinking it had 10 episodes when it actually had 8. But yeah, I actually struggled to finish this book because the end here gets a little bit, well, ridiculous in comparison and to the TV show. And I had finished the TV show and liked the way that ended. And so I struggled a bit with this last bit. Yeah, I don't know why I don't get on with the writing style as much anymore, because apparently 2014 me did a little bit at least to give it 4 out of 5 stars. I have to admit though, a lot of the books that I read back then that I rated 4 out of 5 stars, such as also Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, I actually don't remember a lot of them like so many years later. So the Perks of Being a Wallflower as well as this book, they both got 4 out of 5 stars, and they were books that were not that memorable to me, that were not my favorites, if that makes sense. I would probably rate both of them less now. In fact, I did give this one a lower rating because the book on its own, I just didn't enjoy it that much. The only way I really got through it was by watching the TV show and then reading like the bit in the book that was sort of like the TV show, if that makes sense, in the story. But yeah, they also moved some dates around. So in this book, specific things happen on specific dates because it says before the chapter, for example, December 24, December 22nd. And in the TV show, some of the events take place in different... So for example, something happens here after Christmas. In the TV show, it happens before Christmas. This video is not called review of the TV series, so I'll shut up about it now. It does make me a bit worried, because I have some other books co-written by Rachel Cohn and David Levitan, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to like those now. They're all also like published a while ago, and I bought them at the time. And I did read a couple pages from the sequel of this, and then decided, no, I don't want to do it. I really like the way the TV show ended. I don't want that image changed. So I actually didn't read it. And also, it was the last day of November that I finished this. And in December, I wanted to read some other books. I have some buddy reads and things. So I also didn't see it happen to read that book in one afternoon, or evening actually, because I was reading this in the afternoon, or to like squeeze it in somewhere. And I was like, I'm not that bothered. So I may unhold it at some point. The next book I read is Nervous Notes on... No. That was the last book that I read in November. That was 31 books. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope to have, of course, a December wrap up in the new year. So yeah, and I would also like to make a statistics video. I've done that in the past 2 years as well, showing you the statistics of my reading, of the year, how it went, and all the graphs and everything. But this year, I have made a separate file, and I think most of the people will now have switched off. So if you're still here, you get this little sneak preview. I made a new file, and I have put in that all the statistics of all the previous years as far as I have it. So my first statistics are from June 2012. And then some statistics I only have from like the last few years because I wasn't keeping track of that yet in the early times. But anyway, so I've got lots of graphs comparing all of these years and all of these things, and I am really proud of it. So I would like to show that to you in a video, and then also seeing how the years compare. I haven't decided yet if I should do like a separate one just for 2020 and a separate one for comparing it to the earlier years, or like showing the spreadsheet as separate, or I mean, I think the last 2 years I split the yearly statistics video, so the statistics of 2019, let's say, into like 6 parts, because I have so many graphs and probably not many people want to sit through like an hour-long video with lots of graphs. So, and it's even more stats now because even more graphs, I mean, so we shall see. But I do really look forward to work on that. So, but yeah, it's not going to be up on the 1st of January because I need some time to work on that and edit and everything. Anyway, if you're still here, I hope you will enjoy seeing that in presumably January. At least I hope to have it done in somewhere in January and not still be doing it in February, but we shall see. It's a little bit early now, but I do wish you a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. If you celebrate Hanukkah, I wish you a Happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate something else or nothing at all, I'm not that well versed in all the religions to know what people are celebrating or rethinking in December. But anyway, I hope you have a good December, and I have been tagged in a couple of tags, so I hope to do that eventually as well. Have a great December, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye! Oh yeah, and because of the pandemic, I'm not going anywhere. And I desperately miss going to the library, going to charity shops, buying used books, buying books in the library sale, and all that. So, at the moment, I am vicariously living through people doing haul videos. Now, I do buy books online. New books, which are usually, well, kind of full price. So, there's that. But it's not the same feeling as walking into a bookshop or a charity shop and just seeing what they have, right? Or going to the library knowing you can borrow all of these books. And you don't have to pay for them. I mean, you need a subscription for the year, but I really miss it. So if you have any tips on how to deal with that, please let me know. But I'm not going anywhere to any physical places. Because some things are open here, not others, but I'm not risking it. So, in fact, just the other day, okay, so I needed a gift for someone, so I bought that, and that place takes cash. So I opened up my wallet, and between the cash, I found a receipt from the last time I used cash, and it was a long time ago. Because now, the few times that I do go somewhere, I use my card, because then you don't have to touch as much. But I'm hardly going anywhere anyway. Here is an overview shot of our Christmas tree.